In this video, I'm going to talk about approval skit, but with a multi-stage approval workflows. Now, just to set the stage, there's a fictitious company called as Girish Corporation Limited, and there's an employee called as Girish. Girish reports to Alex, and there is a resource manager within the organization named as Adele. Now, if you see over here, this is the use case. Basically the timesheet approval request. There is an app whereby an employee submits the timesheet request. So employee submits weekly timesheet. Approval first goes to Girish's manager. Now Girish's manager is Alex, and then once Alex approves it, then the next approval process goes to resource manager. Okay, so this is basically the use case over here. So first, Girish will submit the timesheet. It will go to Alex. Alex will approve or reject the timesheet. Or if Alex approves it, then the next step is it goes to Adele. Okay, so this is the basic functionality. Now, let me first show you. This is how the approval kits looks like once you install the approval kit within your application. So I have also opened Outlook just to see the email notification. This is a timesheet approval request table, which is a backend table basically, which will store the timesheet approval request information. Now, if you want to see how the timesheet app looks like, it's a very simple model driven app. Now, this app can be a Canvas app, or it can be any application which is connected to the Dataverse or any other applications. Now, how things work is like if I click on new as an employee, I will submit the request over here using this application, and then basically what happens in the backend in Dataverse, a new row gets added, and then Girish's manager is going to receive that notification. Now, who is Girish's manager? If you want to know that, you can navigate to Microsoft 365 Admin Center, and then from there click on Active Users. And when you click on Active Users, you can view the manager. Now, you can change the manager depending on your organization structure. You can edit the manager over here. Now, my manager is Alex Wilbur. So, this is how I have placed this manager. Okay. So, how to draft the process basically is you need to go to the home page of the business approval management approvals kit, click on configure a workflow card. Over there you can draft a multi-stage workflow. So multi-stage means you will have one or more stage. Okay, now it will be more than one stage. So if I click on add stage, then I will say stage 1 manager approval, or maybe you can put some code word. Okay, you just say S01 manager approval. Okay, and you put some description. Condition is none. I'll click on save. Then I will add another stage. I will call it as S02 resource manager approval. So resource manager approval, and I'll put the description over here, and condition is none. I'll just click on save. So I have two stages over here as you see in the screen. So there are one stage and two stage, and then within the stage I can add node. So if I click on node over here, the first node is the node type is approval. So I will say manager approval node. Now here you can put the name and descriptions, and approval type, approve or reject, everyone must approve. So in my case I'll just keep it very simple. I'll say everyone must approve, and there is only one approver, so it really doesn't make sense. I'll just say it's either one or everyone must approve. User, I can either hard code the username, so I can directly write my manager name is Alex, so I'll just put an approver as Alex. But I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make use of dynamic component, whereby I my manager will be automatically pulled from the directory. So approver is manager of the initiator, so whoever initiates that request, manager of that person will be taken into effect. So you remember, once you select this approver stuff, you need to click on add, so that the manager of initiator is added. Notification is default, delegation rule is none. We're not going to make any change over there. Click on save. So first node, manager is going to approve, your manager is going to approve the approval request. Once it is done, it will be navigated to the second stage. So this is the second stage. So if I click on add node, then here I will say resource manager approval. Again, same thing, resource manager approval, and then description. Now in our organization, as I mentioned to you, Adele is a resource manager, so that's she's only one who is the resource manager. I'll just hard code that value over here. Okay, so over here I will just say, instead of using dynamic, I'll just show you user, and then I'm going to put Adele's name. Now Adele is going to be the resource manager. So Adele is at the second stage of approval process. I'll click on add notification default delegation tool as none and click on save. So if you see over here, my entire workflow is now authored correctly. Okay, and this is how I would just say uh, multi-stage manager and RM approval process. So this is the name of that workflow. Okay, you can name it anything. I'll just click on save and my workflow is ready. Once I'm done with it, I'll click on publish. Publish, all green checks, click on publish. This process may take up to 1 minute to complete. So once this is done, we will be authoring the Power Automate. So what we need to do, once this process is defined completely, then you can make use of Power Automate. Okay, now in Power Automate, now we need to remember a couple of things. One is we are making use of this model driven app. So the triggering point is if anyone adds a new line item to this model driven app, then it should trigger. So which is this application. Now we know the table is timesheet approval request. So Dataverse would be the trigger, and if anyone adds a new request, then the workflow should trigger. As you see over here, the process is successful, publishing is done. So then going back to the flow, what we are going to do, we're going to create a new flow. So if I go into flow, I'll click on new flow. I'll say it's an automated cloud flow, and we're going to skip this. Now I'm in the new interface. Here, I'm going to use Dataverse trigger. So I'll just type Dataverse, and then I'll say when a row is added, modified, or deleted, change type is added. Table name. The table name is timesheet. So I'll just type time and timesheet approval request. Scope, organization. Okay, so the trigger is good. I'll just click maximize here. And now I'll insert a new step, add an action. From here, I'll just type approval. Now, in order to get the approval kit connector, you just need to select custom. From custom, you'll get approval kit, start business process, approval process. Now, a couple of things to note over here. You need to first select the workflow process. Now, we have created a workflow process which is multi-stage manager and RM approval process. Now, there are other workflow process which you can select, but then in the interest of this video, we have multi-stage manager and RM approval process defined. So that's good. Then once you select that, it will then connect to that particular workflow process. I'll click on save. Once it is saved, it will ask for who is requesting it. Now usually a requester is the person who is creating that request, right? Now, as you see over here, a trigger is defined when a row is added, modified, deleted. Now, from here, we are not going to get the email address which we are going to refer in the start business approval process. So for that, what we need to do, we need to make use of another database connector get row by ID. So if I go into Microsoft Dataverse and say get a row by ID and then point the table name, okay, now the user table will have the email address. Okay, so if the row ID, from the row ID over here, if I select the dynamic content, and from here I'll just say if I created by, so created by value. So what we are doing is we are taking the person who has triggered, we are taking the GUID of the person who has triggered the Dataverse connector over here, means the created by, and checking in the users table. Okay, so from the users table, we are going to get a row that which user, say take for example, Girish has triggered. So I'll get the GUID of Girish, and then from there, I will refer into this output, get a row by ID, and I'm going to type in email. So here primary email of that person, and now I think everything is good. So if I just click on save, so what we have done in this entire process is first this trigger point will give you the GUID of the person who has triggered. From that GUID, I'm going to iterate through the user table and get a row of that user record. And from there, I will be able to get an email address, and I'm pointing that email address to this business approval process. Now my flow is ready. Okay, so I'll just save this. Now the model driven app is hooked. and hook to this process as well. So let's do one thing. Let's now run this flow. Now, how to run this flow? We can't manually run this flow. It is all linked to the application. So if you add a new record over here, then it will automatically trigger the approval cycle. Okay, so let me first disable all other flows which exist within my application, because I have used this for other application as well. So uh, let me disable couple of flows. So let me disable all the flow, and for my flow, we have to rename this flow. We have just added when a row is added or deleted, so that's not a good naming convention. Let me call it as rm manager flow, and it's a multi-stage flow, so that's good. So that's rm manager flow. Now everything is set. Let's go to the model driven app. And from here, I'm going to add a new request. I'm going to say Girish is requesting for a leave. For the timesheet period is week ending 26th. Total hours you spent is 23. Status is pending. All good. Click on save. Go to your model driven, go to your approvals kit app. From here, you will see that my submitted workflow here, currently the number is 1023, which is the latest. Here you will see if the flow runs correctly, the uh, flow name, which we have just recently triggered. So if you see here, 1024 multi-stage manager and RM approval process. So that process which we have created in the approvals kit has triggered. And now in the bottom here, you will see, say currently you'll see 1033, which was the earlier one. I think you should see 1034, which will direct the approval process to my manager, means Girish's manager. Now Girish's manager is Alex. So ideally, the request. So if you see here 1034, see this line item. Here it says S01 manager approval, approval set to manager. It is currently running. The request has gone to Alex Wilbur for approval. That's what we expected, right? So as you see over here, first request goes to Alex and then it goes to Adele. Okay, let's go to Alex. So I'm now logged in as Alex. If you see, I have received this request and I'll say, okay, this is good. Let me click this. Yeah. So if you see this workflow, which is basically has sent out an email, it is asking me to either approve or reject. Now I'm gonna approve it. So I'll just say approved by Alex in just 2 minutes, something like that. Okay. And now what should happen? A request should go to Adele. Okay. Now Adele has not received any email. I have received a notification in Teams as well. So that's good. If you go back into this model driven app and if you refresh it, then the next set of approver should be Adele, because Adele is in the second stage of the approval process. If you see over here in the bottom, now Alex, the Alex status is now instance is completed. Okay, so earlier it was new. Now Alex has completed this request. In a short while, we should see next approver, which is Adele, coming up at 1035 number. So if I just click on refresh, then I should see Adele Vance. Okay, so next we have received next approver, who is Adele, and Adele's workflow is running. Instance status is running over here. We have some additional information if you want to put across. S02 is the resource management stage, which we have seen, right? Now, Adele should receive an email shortly, so we'll wait for that. It might take a couple of minutes, so we'll just click on refresh, and Adele has received an email. So Adele has received the second stage email, and then depending on whatever things you want to approve or reject, you can just say, okay, Adele has approved, approving as of 26 April. Enjoy. Okay. So some message. Okay. So Adele has sent out. We have received the comments. Now, once this is done, this instance status should be completed. So I've received the notification. Good. Click on refresh. And now the workflow state is completed. So this entire workflow, multi-stage workflow consisting of two approvers. One is the manager and the second is the resource manager has been completed. So if you want to see what comment Alex has put, you can go into that instance record and you can exactly see what Alex has put. So as if you see over here, Alex has put approved by Alex in just 2 minutes, and there are other stats which you can see, like when it was actioned on and what are the timeout update. Also, if I just go back, if I want to see what Adele has responded to that particular instance, I can go into the Adele's workflow business approval instance, and then I can exactly see what Adele has also responded along with the comment and what was the outcome as well. So this is how you basically design the workflow process. Okay, so if I go into approval designer, if I go into the processes, and if I click on multi-stage manager and RM approval process, I will see all the stages and nodes which are related to that particular process. Like there are two stages, S01, S02. There are a couple of nodes which are linked to that S01, S02 states, and what is the runtime version. And also, if I want to again edit that particular multi-stage workflow, I can go into the process designer, and then I can design the workflow process based on my needs and requirements. So as you see over here, we are in that same interface. And if I just zoom it further, I can say first is the manager approval node. Depending on whoever is the manager, the workflow get initiated. And resource manager approval is the resource manager who will be approving your second stage of workflow. So this is how we have designed multi-stage workflow process. Now there can be multiple stage. I've just added 2 stage. You can add 3, 4, 5 stage, and you can make it as complex as you can with this business approval kit application. Thanks a lot for watching.